Students, good morning everybody. Now in this class, we are going to see the one more techniques to produce the polarization of light. We can produce with the help of the several techniques. There are a variety of techniques we discussed in the last class. We are going to follow the four main techniques. One is by selective absorption method, and second one is reflection, and third one is double refraction, and fourth one is scattering. The last class we detailedly discussed the topic selective absorption method. Now in this class we are going to produce a polarization of light by using a reflection process. So according to the phenomena of the light reflection, we can produce the polarized light. So this is the easiest way to produce the polarized light compared with any other techniques. So here in this case, by reflection process, we are going to use the transparent material. We know that any transparent material, it can be partially reflected and partially transmitted. If the light ray is incident on the transparent material, some of the light rays are reflected on the same side, and remaining light, incident light, is refracted through the given transparent material. So not completely reflecting surface. We are using the concept of a reflection process, but here some refraction is also occurred. If you are considering an unpolarized light source, it emits the light rays in all directions. Now we are going to consider only the vibrations. We know that if the waves are moving in forward direction, the particles in the particular medium, it is vibrated in up and down direction. Due to the vibrations only, the propagation of the wave it occurs. Now you consider the unpolarized light. The unpolarized light, it can be produced the vibrations parallel to the reflecting surface. The sum of the vibration is parallel to the reflecting surface, and few of the vibrations are not parallel to the reflecting surface. In your textbook, they are noted the diagram representation to mention the parallel vibration to the surface. It is denoted by the letter, the dot symbol. So this is a normal diagram representation for the light source. So this source, it emits the light rays in all the directions. Now I am going to mention the vibrations of the particle in the particular light ray. So this dot symbol, it indicates that vibrations parallel to the reflecting surface. And some of the places they are mentioned that arrow mark. This arrow mark, it indicates that vibration is not parallel to the reflecting surface. So this is the vibrations in the particular light ray. So this straight line, which indicates the direction or the propagation of the light ray. Now you consider one reflecting surface. I consider the reflecting surface. It is partially reflected and partially refracted. And if you draw the normal here, and the light rays from the source, it can be produced the unpolarized light. So the unpolarized light is incident on the reflecting surface. Few of the light rays are reflected and few of the light rays are refracted. Now I am going to mention the vibrations. So the dot symbol, it indicates that parallel vibration to the reflecting surface. This arrow mark, it indicates that not parallel. Not parallel means maybe perpendicular or it is inclined particular angle. So simply they are mentioned. This arrow mark is related to the vibration, not parallel to the reflecting surface. So it is incident at the point O. After getting the reflection, that reflected ray it contains the vibrations only parallel to the reflecting surface. So here they are mentioned only the dot symbol. So in unpolarized light, we have the two different type of the vibration. Some of the vibration is parallel and some of the vibrations are not parallel to the reflecting surface. But the reflected ray, it contains only the vibration is parallel to the reflecting surface. And here in the refracted ray, the vibrations are not parallel to the reflecting surface, but very few amount of the vibrations in the refracted ray, few vibrations are parallel to the reflecting surface. So we cannot say that the refracted ray is unpolarized light because few vibrations are parallel to the reflecting surface. So we call that refracted ray is called as partially polarized. This one is completely polarized or plain polarized or polarized light. Okay, so if you get the polarized light by using the reflection process, if that reflected light, in the particular reflected light, the vibration is parallel to the reflecting surface, the reflected light is completely polarized. Here the refracted ray, if suppose some of the cases the refracted ray, vibrations in the refracted ray is not parallel to the reflecting surface, it is unpolarized. If few of them is vibrations is parallel to the reflecting surface, means it is partially polarized. Okay, so this is related to the polarization of the light by reflection process. Using this concept, we are going to relate the refractive index and angle of incidence of the light ray. Refractive index of the medium and the angle of incidence of the unpolarized light in the reflecting surface. We are going to relate the factor mu and I by using Brewster's law. This one is a very important 3-mark question. Brewster's law. We are going to follow the same diagram representation for this question also. Brewster's law. Brewster's law is going to relate the factor refractive index and the angle of incidence. Refracting surface, partially reflected and partially reflected. This one is a normal. The light ray is incident at the angle I. Here this incident light ray, it contains the vibrations. Some vibration is parallel and some vibration is not parallel. It is from the source. This is the direction of propagation of the incident light ray. Now the light rays are reflected along this direction and some light rays are refracted this direction. So this is the angle of refraction. Okay. Now according to the concept of the production of the polarized light by using reflection method, that reflected ray is completely polarized because the vibrations is parallel to the reflecting surface. So this one is completely polarized. Reflected ray. This is refracted ray. Now, in this particular 3-mark question, we have two separate 2-mark questions. One is the statement for Brewster's law, and another one is what is polarizing angle. It is denoted by the letter IB, polarizing angle. Polarizing angle. I is nothing but the angle of incidence. So polarizing angle is nothing but it is the angle of incidence if the reflected ray is completely polarized. For a particular angle of incidence alone, the reflected ray is completely polarized. That angle of incident, the particular angle of incident is called as polarizing angle. We can vary the angle of incident to change the position of the source. So at a particular angle of incident alone, the reflected ray is completely polarized. So that particular angle of incident is called by the name of angle of polarizing angle or angle of polarization. Okay, this is one of the 2 mark question. Now, if the reflected ray is completely polarized, we can mention this one is IB. This is also IB. If the reflected ray is completely polarized, the angle between the reflected ray and the refracted ray is 90 degree. The angle between the reflected ray and refracted ray is 90 degree. So you know that concept. Maybe sometimes they are asking in 1 mark question, because in the old syllabus, most of the time they are asking 1 mark question related to this diagram. What is the angle between the reflected and refracted ray? That is 90 degree. If the light ray is completely polarized. And what is the angle between the incident light and the reflected light? That is IB and IB. What is the angle between the incident and reflected? So many variety of questions are there. So you understand the concept with respect to this diagram. So this angle is always a constant if the reflected ray is completely polarized. Now we consider this normal. This angle is half circle. So the half circle is nothing but 180 degree. So this 180 degree is equal to IB 90 R. IB plus 90 plus R. If we are going to calculate the value of IB, we can rearrange the formula. Or if you want to the value of R, we can rearrange the formula. Simply we can modify this one. If you need IB value, IB is equal to 90 minus R. IB is equal to 90 minus R. So according to the Snell's law, we get the formula for refractive index. Mu is equal to sin I divided by sin R. Mu is equal to sin I divided by sin R. Here the angle of incident is nothing but the polarizing angle, because the reflected ray is completely polarized. So sin IB divided by sin R. And now you know the value of IB 90 minus R. So you apply this value here. Sin 90 minus R divided by sin R. Sin 90 minus theta is nothing but cos theta. So this formula it becomes cos R divided by, so here you modify this one like this. IB value we know the value, because we are applying that angle of incident. We don't know the value of angle of refraction. So you just modify this one like this. R is equal to 90 minus IB. Okay, so always we are using the, you modify the formula for our convenience. In this case we know the value IB, so we need the value of R alone. So R is equal to 90 minus IB. So here you apply it, sin IB divided by sin 90 minus IB. So this is nothing but the cos theta. Sin 90 minus theta is cos theta. So sin IB divided by cos IB. This is the formula for Brewster's law. The sin theta divided by cos theta is nothing but tan theta. So the final formula mu is equal to tan IB. Mu is equal to tan IB. The refractive index of the medium, it is equal to tangent of the polarizing angle. Tangent of the polarizing angle. This is the numerical. Refractive index of the medium is numerically equal to tangent of the polarizing angle. So this is the formula related to the Brewster's law, and this is the relation between refractive index and the angle of polarization. This is one of the important 3 mark question. And already I told that in this question we have separate two 2 mark question. One is the statement for Brewster's law, and another one is related to the statement for the polarizing angle. This formula is important for a numerical question also. And next one, so selective absorption method completed, reflection completed. Our next topic is a double refraction. Next topic is double refraction method. So using this double refraction method also, we are going to produce a polarized light. Double refraction. This process is demonstrated by the scientist Bartholinus. The scientist Bartholinus, he only demonstrated the concept of double refraction. Double refraction means if the light is incident on any one of the particular crystal material, especially the Bartholinus, he selected the material is calcite crystal. If the light ray is incident on the calcite crystal, inside of the crystal, the incident light ray is refracted like two different rays. So single incident light ray, when it is incident on the calcite crystal, it is divided into two refracted rays. Okay, like this, two refracted rays. We call by the name, one is nothing but an ordinary ray, another one is nothing but an extraordinary ray. One is ordinary ray and another one is called as an extraordinary ray. And because of one of the important 2-mark question, the difference between the extraordinary ray and the ordinary ray is an important 2-mark question. Now, first of all, I am going to explain the concept of double refraction. So, Bartholinus, he demonstrated that the experiment that process double refraction. Initially, he did the experiment with the help of the crystal calcite. After that, he achieved that the same process, same double refraction in a different material like mica and ice, different materials. Okay, right. First of all, that double refraction process demonstrated in the crystal calcite crystal. So if you are considering a calcite crystal, when the incident light is, that means unpolarized light is incident and the calcite crystal, it is divided into the two light rays. One is ordinary and another one is called as extraordinary ray. And after getting this refraction on the other face of the calcite crystal, like this. So there is two different divisions inside of the crystal. It is clearly explained with the help of the one more experiment. That is, if you take one white sheet, in the white sheet you mark one point with the help of the pen. So ink point. And now we fix the calcite crystal above the dot mark. Now I am going to rotate the crystal. If you rotate the crystal, whenever you kept that calcite crystal just above the dot mark, the dot point is act as an object. Definitely it produces the image whenever you are going to see in the upper part of the calcite crystal. So now I am going to rotate the crystal. We mark only one single point. If you rotate the crystal, we have the two different images. One is a stationary images and another one is a rotated. So one image is rotated when you are rotating the calcite crystal and another one is a stationary image. So we have the two different images for a single object. So according to this concept, we can say that the single incident light ray is divided into the two rays. One is called as a ordinary ray and another one is called as a extraordinary light ray. The stationary image, when you are, if you rotate the crystal, the stationary image is called as a ordinary light ray. Ordinary ray, and the rotated ray is called by the name of extraordinary ray. So ordinary is related to the stationary image. It is related to rotatory image. So this is a simple experiment to explain the concept of double refraction. And the difference between the ordinary and extraordinary, the ordinary ray, it can be travel in all the direction with the same velocity inside of the crystal. We are going to focus inside of the crystal because outside we have the single light ray. So inside of the calcite crystal, the ordinary light rays are traveling in all the direction with the same velocity, constant or fixed velocity. The velocity is depending upon the crystal. But the extraordinary ray, it is traveling in all the direction with the different velocities. At the same velocity, it is traveling in a different direction. All the direction with the different velocities. And another one thing is the refractive index of the ordinary and extraordinary ray in a particular crystal, it is a different one. The refractive index of the ordinary and extraordinary ray inside the crystal, it is a different one. It's not the same for all the places. That is the second point. And third one, inside of the crystal, at a particular axis, in a particular direction, the ordinary light ray and the extraordinary light rays are traveling in the same direction. You know that it can be traveling in all the direction, it can be traveling in all the direction in only one places or any two places. If the ordinary light rays and the extraordinary light rays are traveling in the same direction. If both the rays are traveling in the same direction means at the particular axis, at the particular direction, it has the same velocity. The ordinary and the extraordinary rays have the same velocity in a particular axis. If the ordinary and the extraordinary rays are traveling in the same direction with the same velocity, so at that particular axis it has the same refractive index. That particular axis is called as optical axis, or it is called as optic axis. Simply, it is called as optic axis or optical axis. This is one of the two mark questions. What is the optic axis? Inside of the crystal, calcite crystal, if the ordinary and extraordinary light rays are traveling in the same direction with the same velocity and it has the same refractive index in a particular axis, in a particular line, that axis is called as optic axis. Same velocity, same direction, same refractive index. All the remaining places, all the remaining direction, it has a different refractive index and different velocity. Okay, right. So this is with respect to the optic axis. And another one different. Instead of the crystal, the wavefront, the spherical wavefront form for the ordinary light ray. For extraordinary light ray, it produces an elliptical wavefront. So in a particular crystal, spherical wavefront for ordinary light ray, and for the extraordinary light ray, it is elliptical wavefront. So we have the three main points, three main difference between the ordinary and extraordinary. One is related to the velocity and refractive index, and third one is with respect to the optic axis, and next one is related to the wavefront. Okay, right. This is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. And next topic. Another one topic is pile of rays. So the pile of plates, it is one of the experimental arrangement to produce the polarized light with the help of by a reflection method. Already we discussed the reflection method, the help of the Brewster's law. In that particular case, we are using a single partial reflecting mirror, transparent material. But in the particular material, some of the refracted light rays is partially polarized. So using the pile-off rays, main use for using the pile-off rays, it can be converted the partially polarized into a completely polarized. If you are using a single plate, single transparency, a certain amount of incident light ray is completely polarized and the remaining light rays is refracted, it is a partially polarized light. If you have the arrangement like this, the one transparent material is over to the other one transparent material. If you take more than two transparent sheets or transparent glass material, right, here we have the arrangement like this. Instead of the one glass tube, we arrange the different glass material, transparent material over by another one. So the angle, it is inclined particular angle at the 90 minus IP. This is the angle between that position of the glass material and the horizontal surface of the tube. 90 minus IP. All the plates are arranged inclined angles 90 minus IP. So, if you are using the single plate means if the light ray is incident here, we know that the reflected ray is definitely completely polarized because the vibration is parallel to the reflecting surface. And some of the rays are refracted through the glass prism, glass material or prism. So, this refractor ray, it is a partially polarized light. So, when the partially polarized light produced from the first glass shape, it acts as an incident light ray for the second plate. So that second plate is once again produce a completely polarized light. If suppose once again the second plate is produce some refracted ray, that means partially polarized light, this is once again converted into a completely polarized light. So this process. So now finally we get a very small amount of partially polarized light, or maybe this light ray is unpolarized light. So we get the more efficiency in this particular experiment, pile-off plates. So this pile-off plates is mainly used to convert the partially polarized light ray into a completely polarized light ray. Simply we use this arrangement is used to produce a polarized light. This is used to produce a polarized light. If you are using the glass material as a transparent sheet means it is inclined at the angle 32.5 degree. It is inclined at the angle 32.5 degree. So at this case, at the particular value only, it produces a completely polarized light by the reflection process. So you note that angle also. Right, this is related to the pile-off plates. Our next topic, nickel prism. Nickel prism. In the nickel prism, this is the experimental arrangement used to produce a polarized light by using a double refraction method. We know that when the unpolarized light is incident on the particular crystal, that means calcite crystal, it is divided into the two rays, one is ordinary and another one is extraordinary light ray. The ordinary light ray is a stationary, it produces a stationary image. The stationary image is acted as ordinary ray, and the rotatory image is acted as an extraordinary ray. Now, that experimental arrangement nickel prism, it is constructed by the scientist William Nickel. He designed that arrangement to produce a double refraction. And this is arrangement used to produce a polarized light, and also we can use that arrangement, sometimes it acts as an analyzer. So nickel prism, it behave like as a polarizer and act as a analyzer also. The experimental arrangement is like this. We have the calcite crystal. The length of the calcite crystal is 3 times the breadth of the calcite crystal. So you take the dimension like this, length is 3 times greater than the breadth of the calcite crystal, and the angle 72 degree, 108 degree. Now initially you cut the single calcite crystal like this. Diagonally it is cut into 2 pieces, and using the Canada balsam, to apply the Canada balsam to paste to the 2 separated pieces. So here Canada balsam, that is a paste to a divided material. So this angle 108 degree, this is 72 degree. Now you allow to fall on a light ray. The light ray is unpolarized light ray. It is incident at the one surface of the nickel crystal, calcite crystal. Now it is divided into the 2 light ray. One is ordinary light ray and another one is a extraordinary light ray. So here we are applying a double refraction method. So it is divided into the 2 light ray. One is ordinary light ray and another one is a extraordinary light ray. Initially we are using the unpolarized light ray. The light ray is from the monochromatic source. It acts as an unpolarized light ray. And it is divided into the 2 light ray. One is ordinary and another one is a extraordinary light ray. If you consider one is ordinary and another one is a extraordinary light ray means, and this light ray, one light ray is completely reflected by the Canada balsam, by the paste, and one light ray it can be passing through it, and it is like this. This is the order. So this completely reflected light ray by the Canada balsam, it is called as the ordinary light ray, and this light ray which is transmitted by the Canada balsam and which light ray is emerging the other side of the calcite crystal, nickel prism, this is called as an extraordinary light ray. So inside of the calcite crystal, nickel prism, the incident light ray from the monochromatic source, sodium lamp, it is divided into the 2 light ray due to the concept of double refraction. One is ordinary and another one is extraordinary. Which light ray, which divided light ray inside the crystal is completely reflected by the Canada balsam, it is called as ordinary light ray, which can be transmitted through the Canada balsam, and that light ray is emergent at the other side of the nickel prism, it is called as an extraordinary light ray. The extraordinary light ray is nothing but it is a plain polarized light ray, completely polarized light ray. So using this apparatus we can produce the polarized light ray, and also we are using this arrangement to check whether the light ray is polarized or unpolarized. That is, it acts as a polarizer and it acts as a analyzer also. And here we are using the sodium light, monochromatic source, sodium light ray. So in the sodium light ray, and we consider the calcite crystal. So inside of the calcite crystal, for a sodium light ray, the ordinary light ray, it has a refractive index value 1.658. The refractive index of the ordinary light ray inside of the calcite crystal for the sodium lamp, the value 1.658. For the extraordinary light ray, the refractive index value is 1.486. Calcite crystal, monochromatic light source, sodium. For extraordinary light ray, the refractive index value is 1.486. And also we have another one medium is a Canada balsam. For the Canada balsam, it has the refractive index value is 1.523. So you note all these refractive indexes value. This refractive indexes value is for 1 mark question. So for ordinary 1.658, for extraordinary 1.486, and for Canada also the refractive index value is 1.523. So this is also one of the important 3-mark question. First of all, you note who construct this arrangement and what is the use of this experiment and the construction process and voting. How it is divided into two, which one is ordinary, which one is extraordinary. And in this part we have the drawbacks of the Nickel prism. At last I explained the drawbacks. Okay, now and one more topic, the last topic, the techniques to produce the polarized light by the process scattering of the unpolarized light. If I consider the light ray, here the light ray is the sunlight. The scattering process already we discussed in the previous lesson. When the sunlight is entered in the earth's surface, after crossing the more layer in the atmosphere contains several particles, several gas molecules. So it is scattered by the gas molecule. The process scattering of the light ray or Rayleigh scattering. Now the light rays is traveling like this. The sun is a source here. This is a path or propagation of the incident light ray. And here we consider the one molecules. The molecule it contains the electrons also. So due to the vibrations, it is scattered. After scattering, the vibrations it traveling in the several directions. So the molecule it scattered the incident unpolarized light. So here we receive the sum of the vibrations, and here in this part we have the sum of the vibrations. And if you are looking from this place, this is nothing but if you are going to view the light ray perpendicular to the propagation of the light ray. Here this is our view. So the angle here 90 degree. If you are view the light ray, scattering light ray perpendicular to the propagation of the light ray. And here you receive some of the light ray and that vibration is perpendicular to our view direction. Here our view is like this direction. The vibrations in this particular path it is perpendicular to the path of the view. So definitely this light ray, the light rays which is reaching our eye, that rich light ray is completely polarized, plain polarized. And if some of the light rays are not traveling along the propagation of the light ray, so these light rays are called as partially polarized, because here we have some of the vibrations parallel and some of the vibrations not parallel. Here this light ray is called as unpolarized light ray. Okay, so the unpolarized light ray from the sun, it is scattered by the molecule present in the atmosphere. Whenever you are going to look, the scattered light ray is perpendicular to the propagation of the light ray. That vibration is appear perpendicular to our view direction. So that light ray which is reaching our eye, it is called as a completely polarized light ray. Completely polarized light ray only reach our eye, human eye. So this is completely polarized or plain polarized. Some of the light rays is travel, the vibration is along the direction of the propagation of the light ray. This is unpolarized light ray, there is no deviation. And some of the light rays is the vibration is like this. So this is called as partially polarized light ray. So this is the method to produce a polarized light by using a scattering process. So we discussed the 4 different techniques. One is selective absorption method, another one is refraction, double refraction, reflection, and the scattering process. So 4 different techniques. Next one, small 2-mark question. Optically active crystal. This is a 2-mark question. Comparison. And sometimes this example they are asking in 1-mark part. Optically active crystal. We know that there are ordinary and extraordinary light rays. It is divided inside of the crystal. If you consider the calcite crystal. And we know the optic axis. Optic axis is nothing but inside of the crystal, the ordinary and the extraordinary light rays are traveling in the same velocity, in the same direction inside of the crystal. That axis, that line is called as optic axis. If some of the crystal, it have the single optic axis. Some of the crystals, it have the single optic axis. That means only one direction, only the ordinary and the extraordinary rays are traveling in the same direction. Only one axis. So the single optic axis. Which crystal, it have the single optic axis, it called as uniaxial crystals. It is called as uniaxial crystal. If suppose some of the crystal, it have the two optic axis, it is called as biaxial crystals. It is called as biaxial crystal. If two optic axis means biaxial crystal. If it have a single optic axis, it is called as a uniaxial crystals. For uniaxial crystal, in your textbook they have mentioned some of the example that is related to one is quartz. First one is quartz and tourmaline, ice. These are the examples related to uniaxial crystal. Quartz, tourmaline, ice. These are the examples related to the uniaxial crystal. Okay. And for biaxial crystal, topaz, selenite. These are the examples related to the biaxial crystal. And one more example for this case, aragonite, and we can add here mica, topaz, and selenite and aragonite is an example for the biaxial crystal. And for the uniaxial crystal, quartz, tourmaline, and ice. And already we know that the calcite is also a uniaxial crystal. So you note all the four examples with respect to uniaxial and biaxial. Uniaxial, calcite, quartz, tourmaline, ice. And for biaxial crystal, mica, topaz, and selenite and aragonite. These are the examples related to uniaxial and biaxial crystal. And maybe sometimes they are asking the difference between this uni and biaxial crystal in 2-mark part. Okay. And next, you note some of the 2-mark questions. They are not discussing in your textbook, but they are slightly touch the topic. That means the concept of double refraction method. Your textbook it contains some demonstration. You mark a single point. If you rotate the calcite crystal, one is a stationary image and another one is a rotatory image. One is ordinary and another one is extraordinary. So in some of the crystal, it produces that rotation is clockwise direction, and some of the crystal it produces that rotatory image is rotated in a anti-clockwise direction. With respect to the type of rotation, we are going to classify into the two types. One is exo-rotatory and another is levo-rotatory. So maybe sometimes they are asking you any competitive exam what is meant by exo-rotatory and what is meant by levo-rotatory. Okay, levo means left to concentrate. and dextro means right. Right means the clockwise direction. If the image is rotated in a clockwise direction means right-handed means it is called as dextro-rotatory, and levo-rotatory and left, that means anti-clockwise rotation of the image is called as levo-rotatory. Okay, let's see the concept in the PPT board. See this one, students. There are two types of optically active substances. One is dextro-rotatory. This substance which rotate the plane of vibration in the clockwise direction with respect to the observer looking towards the source from the analyzer. It is called as dextro-rotatory, right-handed rotatory. So you note the examples. The fruit sugar quartz crystal. This is a crystal to produce the dextro-rotatory, and the levo-rotatory, the substance which rotate the plane of vibration in anti-clockwise direction with respect to the observer looking towards the sources from the analyzer. It is called levo-rotatory. And the canned sugar solution. Canned sugar solution, it can be produced the levo-rotatory, but the fruit sugar, it produces the dextro-rotatory. So you note these two things, and also you note one more thing. This is related to what is meant by negative crystal and what is meant by positive crystal. This concept also related to our double refraction. The double refraction, or sometimes it is called by the name of birefringence. So you note all the two names, double refraction or birefringence. And negative crystal, what is meant by negative crystal? Negative crystals are crystals in which a refractive index corresponding to extraordinary ray is less than the refractive index corresponding to the ordinary ray. So inside of the crystal, if the refractive index of the extraordinary ray is less than the refractive index of the ordinary ray, in all directions, they are mentioned except the optic axis, because in the optic axis both the rays have the same refractive index. So except the optic axis, if the refractive index of the extraordinary ray is less than the refractive index of the ordinary ray. So you note the example, the negative crystals, calcite, tourmaline, ruby crystals. Okay. And in this negative crystal, the extraordinary ray move high speed compared with the ordinary ray, because the ordinary ray it have the higher refractive index, so speed is very less. Okay, so this is a negative crystal. And the positive crystal, opposite. The refractive index of the ordinary ray is less than the refractive index of the extraordinary ray. Okay, so here we can modify the formula. The velocity of the ordinary ray is greater than or equal the velocity of the extraordinary ray, because it is equal at the optic axis. The example for this positive crystal, quartz, rutile. You note these two. This is the main two crystal, quartz and rutile. And another one is cellite, MgF2, TiO2. Okay, you note this two, and if you have time, you note the diagram also. Okay, this is a very important, students. Negative crystal, positive crystals, and dextro-rotatory, levo-rotatory. And next differentiation, ordinary ray and extraordinary ray. Already we focused the main 3 points. Now you note it. It obey the law of refraction. Ordinary ray, it obey the law of refraction. So then only it is reflected by the Canada balsam. But extraordinary ray, it does not obey the law of refraction. Second one, it moves with a constant velocity in all directions. It moves different velocity in different direction. And third, it produces a spherical wavefront inside a crystal. It produces an elliptical wavefront inside a crystal. And the refractive index is a constant. The angle between the sine of the angle of incidence and sine of the angle of refraction is constant. That is nothing but a refractive index for ordinary ray is a constant. Here the refractive index of the extraordinary ray is not a constant. And you note that refractive index for the calcite crystal consider sodium light, ordinary ray 1.658 and extraordinary ray 1.486. This is I already told in the discussion of the nickel prism. So mainly we focus the 3 point, we can extend that up to 5 points. This is related to ordinary and extraordinary light ray. So students, this class we completed that topic, the techniques to produce the polarized light, and also we discussed some of the experimental arrangement to produce the polarized light. And next class I am going to discuss some of the interesting 2-mark question and the main problem with respect to the polarized light and some of the difference between the two cases, that means polarized and polarized, and some difference related 2-mark question also I am going to discuss in the next class. We will meet in the next class. Thank you, students. Thank you.